Well, Christmas has always been my favorite time of year. But as a pastor, I also found that the holiday sermons, and particularly those of Christmas, were some of the most difficult to preach. There are a lot of reasons for this. One reason I think that they're difficult is because our expectations are so ramped up during the holidays that it's virtually impossible for the church to create an experience that measures up. You can hear this theme in our music. It's the most wonderful time of the year, the songwriter says. Well, maybe it is, but it's also the most stressful, and it's often the most disappointing. I think you also see it in the pressure that churches feel to produce bigger and bigger extravaganzas every year. 30 years ago, it was the living Christmas tree. The church choir climbed a scaffold decorated in greens and sang a Christmas cantata. Today, the church has to have a Christmas village with a live passion play, complete with animals. And how's the preacher going to compete with that? I think preachers also feel pressured to say something new or exciting about the Christmas story each year. And how do you do that? After all, the Christmas story is the most familiar story that's ever been told. It's one of the few Bible stories that secular society still remembers. They've forgotten all the rest, but they remember that one. So how do you preach it without making it feel like a cliché? I think the solution is to trust the power of the gospel story itself. There's enough real wonder embedded in the story as the Gospels tell it to last for all time. It doesn't need us to jazz it up. What we may need to do, though, is to rescue our listeners from the two-dimensional Christmas card image that they have of it, and to help them grasp the outrageousness of this story in its original context. These are remarkable events. I mean, think about it. This young girl who has to tell the man to whom she's been betrothed that she's pregnant and that God is responsible. The poverty and the refugee status of this young couple. And of course, the most amazing fact of all, that God becomes flesh and dwells among us. So I think I would encourage the pastor to trust the story as God tells it. Don't try to put a new spin on it, but do try to look at it with fresh eyes. Try to tell it in a way that will enable your listeners to enter the story themselves and experience the story as the original readers and listeners to these gospel events might have heard it.